Travis Reier and Charlie Potter, the BamaOnline.com staff, with another edition of Instant Analysis. This one before the 80th playing of the Iron Bowl between Alabama and Auburn. Jordan-Hare Stadium, Saturday afternoon, 2:30 kickoff on CBS. And Charlie, coming out of a Senior Day win for this team, a lot of questions still at this point in the season about health, starting with right offensive tackle Dominic Jackson, who did not take part in the win over CSU over the weekend. Through Tuesday's practice, this will air before Wednesday's practice. What have you seen from Jackson in terms of his involvement?
Well, he's doing more than he did last week. You know, that was something that I made note of in the days leading up to the Charleston Southern game that he did. He kind of stood off to the side and didn't do much, and he seemed to do more this week. You know, he still has his ankle taped a little bit, and you know, when we see them do run blocking drills against the scout team, you know, he and Corn Curvin are still splitting some reps. But I think it's reassuring to see Jackson actually get in there and get involved. You know, it's still something to monitor going forward, obviously, you know, with the game where they want to run the football against Auburn. But, you know, as we saw against Charleston Southern, I think Corn Curvin actually stepped in and did a solid job, which was a little bit surprising, I'll be honest. But, yeah, I think moving forward, you know, we'll see if tomorrow, which is the last day, we'll get to see if Jackson's doing more. You know, I thought he looked better yesterday, so I don't know if that's if that's a step in the wrong direction. But we'll just have to see.
Yeah, watching him during Tuesday's practice, looked like he was able to do some things, but you're right. They repped in Corn Curvin a pretty good bit. And the big concern, Carl Lawson, who, believe it or not, Alabama's offensive linemen are aware of number 55, despite what you may have heard early in the week. He lines up against that right tackle spot a pretty good bit. And not that Dominic Jackson is an all-pro in pass protection, but obviously there's a drop-off between the top two tackles and the number 3. But you're right, Corn Curvin, I thought it was encouraging. Guy who's kind of bounced around a little bit, wondered if there was a place for him to make an impact. Gets a start against CSU, plays well. Meanwhile, at the running back position, Kenyon Drake. Saw him out there Tuesday doing some things. We wondered when they got to some of the ball security stuff, how much he would be able to do. I think from that standpoint, probably still the biggest concern with him.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's still a long shot. You know, he's got that big brace on his right arm. And whenever they did go through the gauntlet drills, he just stood off to the side, which is to be a little bit expected. You know, I thought having him back on Monday was a big surprise for me, I guess. You know, he's still behind Derrick Henry doing drills, and he seems to be gripping the football pretty well, but they're still not putting him through that gauntlet drill just yet. I mean, that might change on Wednesday. We'll see moving forward, but you know, he looks good out there. It's just a matter of, you know, can they trust him and his arm to take care of the football, which is something that has even before the injury plagued him in the past. So that'll be something to definitely keep an eye on.
Yeah, ball security, you're right. That's where it all starts. And you worry about coming down on it, falling on it, things like that, impact on it. He's going to have to be, you're right, pretty well ready to go. I'd still say Atlanta, assuming they get there, being a more reasonable expectation. We'll see on Saturday at Jordan-Hare Stadium. Rounding out the trio, actually 4 guys, I guess, but we'll move on to Minkah Fitzpatrick, move on to the defensive side of the ball with some injuries there. Didn't play against Charleston Southern like Dominic Jackson, but looks to be moving around pretty good out there.
Yeah, I mean, I noticed it before the game. You know, he came out early in shorts and worked with the trainer. He was going through several stretching and jogging, sprinting drills, and he looked fine then. And you know, out there these past 2 days, you know, he looks like his old self. He's moving, you know, really well. He looks just as fast as he was. You know, I don't think a sprained knee is going to take anything away from him in that regard. But you know, he's not holding back. He's not limited. I think, you know, it would be a big shock if he didn't play on Saturday. And then, you know, staying on the defensive side of the ball, you know, Keith Holcomb sustained a sprained knee against Charleston Southern, and yesterday, Monday, he looked really, really limited. You know, he didn't do much. He got stuff to the side, and it was encouraging on Tuesday to see him actually, you know, go through some tackling drills and, you know, to absorb some of that contact. So that'll be something to keep an eye on. He won't have as much as an impact as the other guys, but he's certainly a guy that, you know, plays on special teams, and he could, you know, have an impact if, you know, knock on wood, someone were to get hurt, say a Reggie or a Ruben.
Big time special teams guy. Really see him on all 4 of the special teams units. Outside of field goal, extra point, kickoff coverage, kickoff return, punt return. Really a core guy that's kind of come on in that regard. But you're right, they do have some guys that they can go with if need be. looking at the game itself on Saturday, Alabama wins the game if it does what?
Takes care of the football. You know, I think that's the biggest thing. You know, you don't want to turn into another Ole Miss game where you can't sustain drives on offense because you're turning the football over. You know, I think that's really it. You know, this defense has played lights out all season. Alabama's has. And, you know, Auburn just doesn't possess that explosive playmaking ability it has in the past. You know, there was a lot made of what Cyrus Jones said about Auburn's receivers. And to be honest, he wasn't wrong.
He's being honest.
And that's not a real slight on them, and they lost a lot.
Right.
That's what you have to look at. You know, you come in probably anticipating that Sammy Coates or Duke Williams is back, and neither one of them are there. You know, that's a big drop off in what you've been able to do from a production standpoint on offense. And you know, the running backs are really solid, but Alabama's defense
Plays into Alabama's strength.
That's what they're going to be able to stop. So yeah, if the offense and Jake Coker can get things rolling, and if as long as they don't bottle up Derrick Henry, you know, I think that's the main key of the game. It's just, you know, can Jake take care of the football and sustain drives and keep the ball?
Yeah, they just need to be patient. Don't try to force things. Don't try to do too much as players. You know, let the game come to them. You know, when you talk about turnover margin, even with the -5 they had against Ole Miss, Alabama this year +6 in turnover margin, which that's a hell of a number considering how bad it was. You know, it was 5 right out the window against Ole Miss. So Auburn has done a decent job of taking care of the football. I think it's simple. Take away Peyton Barber, Jovan Robinson. They're the two main sources of running the football for Auburn. Put the game in the hands of Jeremy Johnson or Shaun White if he plays. And you're right. I don't think Auburn has. I love Ricardo. I think he's a good player. They don't have what they had a year ago at receiver. So that big play capability that they really hammered Alabama with last year right here at Bryant-Denny Stadium, not so much this year. Take care of the football. Let the defense play. Special teams continue to perform at a high level. I think they're in pretty good shape. I think Auburn needs this game to play out sort of like the 2009 game did down there. They got off to a good start, kept the crowd in it, caught Alabama a little bit off kilter, maybe looking ahead to Florida the next week. And that's another thing. This team can't look ahead. The 2009 team was going to Atlanta regardless of what happened in Auburn that day. This team, if it loses Saturday afternoon, there's a decent chance the national championship hopes are over for sure.
I mean, you're looking at Sugar Bowl, that's it.
But the SEC title might be out the window too, depending on what happens in Starkville. So you ready to make the trip over and kind of, you know, get ready?
Yeah, I mean, hopefully I'll be able to stay awake after all this Thanksgiving food that I ingest. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Got some hoops too coming up this week.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a busy week.
Busy week on BamaOnline.com. So for Charlie Potter, I'm Travis Reier. Keep it right here on BamaOnline.com for all your Alabama sports needs, and certainly want to wish each and every one of you out there a safe and joyous Thanksgiving weekend.